All right, recording is started. My name is Jessica, and I get to be the facilitator today, which I'm super excited about. Oh, yay, Abby, you made it. Perfect timing. Okay, so today on our hot seat call, we're talking about a topic that I think all of us are super stoked to learn about. I know that I am. I love that so many different coaches with different backgrounds, different creativity, different mindsets, different niches have different ways of doing this and different ways of being successful. This is about finding business builders. It's like the big question, like the elephant question in the room in every single team. How do I find more business builders? How do I get more business builders? Because once you learn about the compensation plan, once you learn about the reality of how our networks are set up, how we maximize our impact and our income is through finding other coaches to link arms with and do this with together. And it becomes way more fun than doing it all by yourself, right? This is one of the huge things that sets us apart from just being in a sales job and just earning off commission versus getting that residual income and having a community and a team and a collective mission. So I am really excited about today. We have three incredible coaches, Cassidy, Abby, and Ashley, who are going to share with us. I've got a list of questions, and at the end, we'll open it up for further questions from you guys. Please use the chat box as much as you want. I'm just going to open it up to you. Cass, you want to go first and share us a little bit about, I don't have your guys' rankings. Maybe just tell us a little bit about how you got started in coaching, where you're at, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course. So thanks, guys, for showing up today. Like, really appreciate you being here in the middle of your day and just taking the time out to listen to us. So hopefully we can bring you some value. But my name is Cassidy Brewer. I am a 5-star in my first CBC lifetime, 1-star in my second CBC. And I've been coaching for 3.5 years. I'm one-time elite, one-time premier. Spoke on a national wake-up call, been in a couple test groups, actually spoke with Jessica, which is so crazy in full circle. So much fun when we were like newer coaches, had still like figuring everything out. But that was such a vision board thing for me. So cool to do it. I hopefully will be on it again sometime. But I got started with coaching my senior year of college. While I was working full-time, I was working 3 jobs, going to school full-time, had a dog and a boyfriend. So my life was crazy, and I was totally that girl that you would have looked at and been like, there's no way she's going to coach because she is already way too busy and has so much going on. And I really was just that crazy person that liked to do a million things. I still am. Like, I love to be busy and just always doing things and trying new things. But I found that coaching, as much as I was worried about it being something else I was adding to my plate, actually became the thing that allowed me to remove other things from my plate and gave me an outlet that I was needing in the chaos of my life. And so this became like my thing that I got to pour into when the whole rest of my day was about everybody else. And so it became everything that I needed. And my upline coach is Ruth Schroner. She lives all the way across the states from me. We're 2 totally different people. We met in a random Facebook group. So I think that's one of the things like so important for you guys to know. You never know where you're going to find people. You never know who is watching you. You never know where they're watching from. Like, there could be somebody, I'm sitting outside at a coffee shop in Arizona because they just opened today. Oh, so grateful for the little things in life. I'm like literally smiling so much being outside right now and being at this coffee shop working. But, there could be somebody here that I meet. Like, you just never know where people are who needs this or who is going to come to your page on that one random day that you share your story. So go more into that later. But that's kind of how I got started. And then in my first year, I ended up matching my full-time income, insert income disclaimer, with coaching. And so I was able to leave all of those part-time jobs during school and just focus on finishing my senior year, which was incredible. And then when I was supposed to start my full-time corporate job, I had matched that salary. And so I said, peace out. I'm not coming. No thank you to 10 vacation days a year. I am doing this thing. I'm burning the boats. I'm going all in. And that's exactly what I did. And I haven't looked back. And yeah, so that's kind of my little story of getting started with coaching.
So amazing. It is so cool. I was thinking about it as I was prepping for this call. I was like, oh my gosh, who would have thought, right? Like, was it 3 years ago, I think now?
Yeah.
What spoke on the National Makeup Call? And I remember you were still in college, and I'm like, this girl is exactly what is in the chat thread right now. Like, I want to be Cassidy. Like, this is incredible. She's working 3 jobs. I think you had made like, at that point, we were making like $3,000 a month as a brand new coach or something, which was incredible. So I love it. I just freaking love your story. Okay, thank you for sharing. Abby, you want to tell us a little bit about you and your background into coaching?
Yes. You guys might hear some Winnie the Pooh in the background because that is my life. I've got my son's like robot stickers on our wall, so totally different story. But I love this business, and I just loved even hearing Cassidy. And I've said this to a few friends. I'm so thankful for my story because it's mine. I would give anything to have found Beachbody in college before kids. Like, I'm so jealous of all of you guys who did that. So but I stumbled into coaching. So I was one of those girls who kind of didn't just totally fell into it. I'm a 5-star coach. We were premier 2 years ago. We were an elite top 200 team this last year. I love everything about this business. It's been a gift, but I did one of those, a total cold invite from one of those like postpartum moms groups to 21 Day Fix way back when they had the DVDs. This girl cold invited me. I was the dream sign up. I was like, you're telling me to drink a shake and get in shape? Heck yes, sign me up. Just did it. Returned my bag of Shakeology because I thought it tasted like poop. Because I just shook it with water, and then merrily went on my way redoing 21 Day Fix on DVD. I was the world's worst challenger, never showed up in the group. I thought that she literally was doing these things out of the goodness of her heart, not because there was a business attached to it. So I was like off in la la land. I was working at the time full-time as an assistant director of admissions at my alma mater, which is a top university out here in Oregon. And my husband was a firefighter. He was in paramedic school full-time as well. We had a 1-year-old. So it was a really chaotic season where I just finished grad school, working 45 hours a week. My husband was gone most nights a week. And it was one of those things where on the outside, we had checked all the boxes of all the things we wanted to do. It was my dream job. He's a hunky firefighter, like all these things that my son, and maybe some of you guys can relate with this, he was that kid who got sick. For everything that ever came through daycare, he was sick. And I remember so many, not fights, but tension with my husband, like, okay, who was going to take time off work this time? And who was going to take him in? And just feeling like my back was against the wall, and what our dreams were actually coming at a time of what was really important to our family. And I remember Googling work at home jobs and crying on a Sunday night, just being like, none of my qualifications are these things. I'm not a business person. I'm not a designer. I do higher ed. Like, this is not something you can do from home. And at the time I stumbled onto, I didn't do social media. I was like really good stalker. I was this close to actually deleting Facebook. But I remember thinking one day as I was doing my millionth round of 21 Day Fix that people posted food on Instagram. And so I never used Instagram. I had a account, and I literally hashtag search. I'm pretty sure it was hashtag 21 Day Fix dinners. Like, I think that's what I searched. And I stumbled onto my coach. You guys might have heard of her, Melanie Mitro, kind of a big deal. I had no idea that she was the top coach, and I'm so thankful. And so this is a lesson for you guys before I get into this is, number one, I resonated so much with her story, and being the creeper I didn't follow her. I legit stalked her for 3 months. I didn't follow her. I never commented. I never liked. Thank God Instagram stories weren't a thing because she would have caught me. But I was super intrigued because I stumbled onto this page and I was like, she's sharing her workouts that I knew and loved. I got the recipes from her that I wanted, but I was watching her. She had her master's also. She had young boys like my son. And it was this super intriguing thing where I watched them go on the Success Club trip. And I requested to join her sneak peek. She didn't see that I requested, so she never approved me, which we laugh about now. And then we all know how this works, right? So 3 days or 4 days after her sneak peek, she's like enrolling for her coach boot camp. So I signed up as a coach right then and there. I've never talked to her. I was never in a sneak peek. I was worried that I was going to miss the opportunity to be mentored by her. Like, I literally was super stressed. I'm like, I don't want to. So I just started. And I think that that's something that's really a key takeaway for you guys is to know that You don't know who's out there legit creeping on you. She would have had no clue that I was watching her, no clue that I was going to turn into an elite coach under her or anything like that. And if she would have not shown up with consistency every day, I wouldn't have signed up. She showed up every single day, and it took me 3 months to finally work up the nerve to jump in. So fast forward 2.5 years, I was able to quit my job, worked harder than I'd ever worked when I was pregnant with my daughter, coaching, working, all the things. But I just had this drive, like Melissa said, to come home. So now I'm working at home with my kids, and it's a total madhouse, but it's my madhouse, and I love it. And I'm grateful for that. So that's it in a nutshell.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I love that, because how many of us show up consistently and we're like, man, I got 10 likes today on Instagram, but it's so true. How many of us have been in this business and been showing up consistently for a few years, and you have those people reach out. I've been following you for a year. I've been stalking you for a year. Like, thank you so much. So, oh my gosh, I love that story. Thank you so much for sharing, Abby. Okay, Ashley, it is your turn. Sister, tell us a little bit about how you got into coaching and your background.
Okay, you guys, these stories are freaking amazing. Are you like, oh, all the chills. Okay, so, my name is Ashley McClellan. I am a 7-star and 2-time elite, which seriously just every time comes out of my mouth, just how is that a thing? So I found Beachbody in an infomercial, DVDs, way back like 12 years ago, and let them sit on my shelf for a really long time. I liked them, but I discovered that it didn't matter how much you exercise. If you didn't change your nutrition, nothing changed on the scale. And so I was like, well, why am I going to kill myself doing workouts if they don't even work? Because I wasn't willing to change my nutrition. Fast forward a couple of years, fell in love with Turbo Jam, fell in love with Turbo Fire, lost 100 pounds, and at the end of 2012 signed up to be a coach in a really salesy team, and made it my goal. Back up. Was halfway to diamond within my first week. Made $800 my first paycheck, had earned my free ticket to Summit, and my upline was like apparently thinking that I'm, great, pat my own head. And I canceled and went on a rampage encouraging everyone I knew to don't talk to coaches. Cancel your Shakeology. There's this Costco protein powder that's $52 and it's 90 servings. They want you to pay $130 for this bag of garbage, like $52, Costco, 90 servings. Everyone cancel Shakeology, buy this. And just went on this destroy Beachbody coaches rampage. Meanwhile, I'm still following all these 15 stars. Because if you guys haven't done Turbo Fire, it's a cast of 15 stars, because it was all Shalene's friends who did Turbo, who signed up under Christine Dwyer, and then they all started working the business. And I mean, they're not literally all 15 stars, but like 50% of the cast at least is 15 star. I didn't know what that meant. I just knew I was following a lot of them, and they were always talking about these diamonds and these trips and these whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's because you guys are salesy, making people drink gross powder. I like watching you in workouts, and I like to follow you on social media. Not going to join any of you. They posted about coaching. They had the links in the bio. Allie Upham, freaking adore her. She's one of my favorite people in the world. Had the swipe up thing about how you could fill out her forms, and I just you guys stay away from me. And then my best friend in my neighborhood signed up to be a coach, and I was like, oh, I remember saying to my husband, they got her. Now we have to avoid Jaylyn, because Jaylyn is gonna, they got her. Let's see how long this lasts. I remember waiting for her to quit. I remember waiting. And I watched her, and her baby was 3 months younger than mine. I gained all my weight back when I got pregnant with my daughter. Her son, she got pregnant right after me. We were both struggling to get the weight off. We both related to each other. And then she goes and starts these stupid little color-coded boxes. I knew what they were. I follow every 15 star on the freaking planet. I know what these boxes are. She starts doing these dumb little boxes with this trainer. Who does this Autumn girl think she is? Shalene is Beachbody Queen. Who is this Autumn girl? And starts following these 30-minute Autumn color boxes and starts melting the weight off her body. Loses 50 pounds in 4 months, doing 30-minute workouts, following these workouts. And then she's posting that she paid off her car and she's diamond in 2.5 months. And I'm like, what the freak? I know what these things mean. You make as an emerald. $14. How did you make enough money to pay off your car? Like, that's no. And so I reached out to her, and I was so skeptical that she thought she knew. She didn't know, but she knew that I was just going to be a discounter, because I was so skeptical that she was like, there's no way this girl's going to get out of her own way. She has so many like weird things from when she was a coach before. And like, so she put me under her husband just so I could be one of his 8, because she was building him to diamond. And 5 years later, I'm a 2-time elite 7-star coach. So, yeah, that's my story in a nutshell. So those coaches who have been coaches and had bad experiences, don't discount them. And if you are a coach who thinks I'm too new and what do I know, because I'm only a diamond in a world of superstars, I picked a diamond over however many superstars because I related to her story. Again, Cassidy, I like you. We're on the same wavelength. That's going to come up a lot. I related to her story, and I related to the fact that she was not sharing. I'm in Micah Folsom's downline. Micah Folsom's income makes my eyes do the like blah, blah thing from cartoons. And that like would have made me like, that ain't happening for me. Like, good for you. Jaylyn was posting, I got gas today and I didn't have to do the click, click, click thing. I turned it on and sat in my car and waited because it's cold. And when the gas tank was done, I got out and put it back because there's enough money in my account because I got paid today. That's like the equivalent of $60, guys. That's not like I made $1 million, but I was like, she got gas without having to watch the needle. Well, that's awesome. And as she shared just those little breadcrumby things, those little wins, that's what made me like, dude, I want this. So anyway, I'm gonna stop talking so other people can talk too.
I love it so much. We're all dying over here. Love that so much. And what I want, especially if you are a newer coach or you feel like you've been stuck in a rut in coaching and you haven't ever attracted those business builders, pay attention to these stories because everyone starts at nothing. Everyone starts with insecurities. Everyone starts saying, I don't think I can do this because fill in the blank. Every single person does that. And when you share your story, the little relatable things like the gas thing, like I love that about Danielle and Tony's story too. Like that is so powerful and relatable. That's what our goal is. Finding business builders is being relatable and building trust with people. Okay, we're diving into questions. Number 1 for you 3, what are your top tips for attracting business builders? Do you do this mostly through social media? And how often do you talk about coaching? What works best for you to attract those business builders?
I can go. I would definitely say, which was just talked about on the National Wake Up Call and on another call I was on. So if I'm hearing it 3 times, then it must be true. What you talk about is what you get, right? So for me, the biggest thing about once I started attracting business builders is when I started talking about coaching on my stories, started talking about coaching in my messages, in my posts. If you're only talking about your boot camp, then that's all you're going to get is people that want to join your boot camp and do the workouts. If you are on there talking about coaching and talking about this business opportunity, then you're going to start to get people that are wanting to work this business with you. So I think that's like the simplest answer ever, but it's seriously so true. And even to this day, I gut check myself with that all the time. When I'm not where I want to be with recruiting coaches for the month, I look at my social media and what I've been doing and I'm like, wow, well, it's probably because my last 8 posts and stories have been all about my boot camp and I haven't been sharing about the coaching opportunity or inviting to it publicly or privately. So no wonder I'm not recruiting working coaches. So I would say that's like one of my biggest tips is just talking about it more, because the more you talk about it, the more people are going to ask about it. And, those messages, when you send those invites to coaching, it's going to make sense to them and they're going to have an idea what you're talking about, instead of you inviting them to join your team and they have no idea what you're talking about because you've never posted about coaching.
I love that.
I would echo 200% that. Like, you just have to talk about it every day. And so every single day in my stories, I usually have my social media recruiting for challenge groups or recruiting for coaching, depending on the month. But every single day in my stories, I'm talking about the business. And I'm talking about both simultaneously, and using my stories as kind of the behind the scenes. Like, I show that I'm up because I work at midnight because I have little kids and that's when it fit in. So I'm showing that I'm working at midnight, and I talk through about what I'm doing. And I think I show the behind the scenes, that when I send someone an invite to coaching, or they want to jump in on a sneak peek, they know the behaviors that I'm doing. It's no secret, just like we show behind the scenes on our nutrition and our workout. So it's no surprise. It's the same thing I want people who want to work. And I think one of the biggest keys for me is owning my story. So really talk to, and you guys have heard this a million times, but talk to your people. I resonated with what Mel was sharing, and I signed up as a coach with her because she talked about specifically how she never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. She wanted a career, and she wanted to be more present. And I felt so guilty for so many years saying I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I did. I struggled with that a lot. But that's just the truth. I'm not a Pinterest mom. I would rather work my business than do arts and crafts. And I wanted to be home with my kids. And so once I got over that and started really boldly sharing that side of me, that started to attract gals who resonated with that. So think about what it is that's yours, that like, why did you start coaching? And really lean into that story and share that every single day in some form. And that really helped me with my social media.
1,000% to all of this. And rather than repeat, I'm just gonna say yes, and we're gonna make up a thing. Be the builder that you want to attract. So if you want to attract someone, back up. Make a list. Whether you're thinking about your upline or someone that inspires the heck out of you. I went through and did this a couple weeks ago to gut check myself. As a 7-star 2-time elite, I still gut checked myself on this. Went down and wrote a list of all the things about Kim Fitzpatrick that all the reasons I worship her and all the reasons I think she is just one of the most incredible human beings, let alone leaders, let alone moms, let alone women. Just the impact and the legacy she leaves, why it is that I love her. And that she's dependable, she's consistent, she wakes up at the same time every day, she has an incredible transformation, she has amazing energy, she practices what she preaches, she replies to messages, she's a real person, she blah, 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 blah. Go through and make my list, she knows her priorities, she blah, blah, blah. And then I go through and I read that list every single day. How am I doing at being dependable, at being consistent, at crushing my journey, at providing value, at being a light, at being positive, at being the wife and mom that I want to set the example for? How am I doing at being that kind of coach that I want to recruit, that I want to be like? How am I doing? And when I'm on target of like, hey, I'm doing pretty good. Oh, hey, look, all of a sudden I have new people coming into my team. They're always very related, where when I'm like off on some weird island about like, how come nobody's joining my team? It's exactly like Cassidy said. Well, because I'm not talking about it, and I'm not being consistent, and I'm not crushing my own journey, and there's lots of things I'm not doing, instead of like, oh yeah, I'm like being the person that I want to recruit. So be the person you want to recruit.
That is so, so powerful. I heard that on another call recently too, is that so many coaches say, I want to attract business builders. I want more business builders, but they're not actually acting and showing up like a business builder. So I love that. And this was one of the questions asked in the chat, and I was going to ask it next. And all three of you talked about it, was how often do you talk about coaching? Would the three of you say that you talk about it and refer to it pretty much every day? For the most part? Okay, perfect. As a new coach, so for those who are new, we have established businesses. Speaking to new coaches, what do you tell your new coaches who don't have an income transformation yet, who have no idea really what they have glimpses of what coaching is about because they followed you? How are you teaching them to share and attract business builders in the beginning of their business?
I think something I talked about with some of my girls last night was just, it's so important to share the vision of where you're going, because I started coaching and my first challenge group exactly on the same day. So I had never done a program. I had never done a nutrition plan. I had no idea anything about Beachbody or coaching or what I was doing. I was still going through the training, but from day one, I was sharing about it because I was sharing about the vision. I was sharing about where I was going and what I wanted to accomplish, so that when I did accomplish those things, all the people that were watching and doubting me were like, oh, she's serious. I want to do this too. And I think the biggest thing is people want to go places with somebody that's going places, right? Like nobody wants to get on a train that's not going anywhere. So sharing that vision is so important, and sharing before you get there, before you have the income, before you have the, titles, before you have the trips that you've been on and all the things. You don't have to have those things to share about it. So you can share about how awesome it is that you have the opportunity to earn these trips, how awesome it is that you have the opportunity to earn an income, like make an income while making an impact, talking about all of those things of where you want to go and what you're excited about. People are going to be attracted to your excitement, your energy, your passion. That's what they want in their life. And they're not going to be it's not as important that you have all the shiny things. Like I have them now, and that still isn't what makes people want to join me as a coach. It's the idea of that they can have these things too, because I'm sharing that vision of where I'm going and what is possible.
Yeah, 200%. Like I always use the phrase like faith it till you make it, not fake it. Like you're out in faith that you will hit those goals. Like I knew I would quit my job someday. I didn't know when, but I would. The other thing that I always talk, and Jessica, I might have shared this on your team call. I can't remember whose it was, but I used to go through and pick up my son every day from daycare, and we would drive through the little coffee kiosk, and I'd get him a $2 hot chocolate, and we'd talk about his day. And I would talk about that in my posts or my stories fairly frequently, because it was a $2 hot chocolate. It wasn't like we couldn't afford a $2 hot chocolate. But I would talk about how thankful I was that I was earning some money, and that even if he was still in daycare, I could do a little bit extra for him. And I would start talking about with my husband, like, okay, what did my paycheck cover? When I was making, my first paycheck was $50, 3 weeks into my business. It wasn't $800 right away. But I'd be like, okay, hon, what, like, did this cover our utility bill? Like, and I would phrase stuff like that. Like, gosh, I'm so thankful that I could help out in this way. So kind of thinking beyond just the impact, because people, like Jess just said, are not attracted. They're intimidated by huge success because they don't think they're going to have that. But when you can talk about your $2 hot chocolate with your son and connect it to not just like I'm buying him money, but I was always connecting it back to the mom I wanted to be and where I was headed with that vision, like she just said, or Cassidy said, like that's what really it comes down to. So that's what I did as a new coach.
Amen. And I think along those lines, because again, I don't want to repeat things, but write down all the things that these Cassidy and Abby are saying, because they're saying all the things. I did not, and maybe I'm like the weird one, I did not recruit builders before I recruited challengers. So I made sure that one of the ways that I recruited coaches was I made sure I was having success with bringing in challengers. I talked about the business opportunity, but when you think about how many people I bring in a month, the amount of coaches I bring in a month is a smaller number than the amount of challengers I bring in a month. That is still true 5 years into my business. I bring in less coaches than I bring in challengers. So I wasn't trying to get like 100% of the people that signed up came in as business builders. So it made it so I could get those quick wins like Abby was talking about and be able to say, I remember when I finally got a paycheck, it took me 7 weeks to get my first paycheck because I was so determined to do it the old way and be sales. I don't know why I wanted to be salesy. My brain was just like, there's no other way to do this. You have to do it the way that my other team had taught me. So when I finally decided to do it the way Micah and Jalen taught me, and oh my gosh, it worked. I sold 2 challenge packs. That I remember that first paycheck, 21 Day Fix was not on sale. It was $160, which means that commission was $50 per challenge pack. Got $100. And so my first paycheck was $100. And I remember doing a post about how I'd received my first paycheck. And I was so excited because it had made it so that I was able to, exactly like Abby said, I was able to cover a utility bill, or I was able to cover my car insurance with my first paycheck that I've received as a coach. And that, like, I started getting builders right away after that I started getting people that obviously I had to do call to actions. I had to follow up. I had to invite. I had to whatever. But because I couldn't shut up because I was like, and then the next week was, $70. This week I got my family's groceries because I don't know how the freak we only did groceries, but I used to be able to like do groceries for $70. And like things like that. As I started consistently earning Success Club, I talked about how I was 20% qualified for the trip next year. And I'm so excited. I don't have a passport. I've never left the country, but I'm 20% qualified for for me and Jake to go to the Dominican Republic, to Punta Cana, to Riviera Maya, to like wherever it is we're going. I hadn't been invited yet. I was a freaking brand new coach, but that I was like per X percentage qualified as I was getting the points to earn the trip. So I'm going to wrap this up. I was a transcriptionist when I came into coaching, and I hated it with my whole soul. And it sucked up so much of my time, and I just had no joy in it whatsoever. And so when I was able to stop and switch to coaching full time, that was something I like pounded that drum, is that I had the freedom to do this whenever, wherever, however I wanted. I could do it in bed. I could do it on my back deck while my daughter was playing. I could do it in my car while she's napping because we are on our way to the grocery store and she fell asleep. Friggin' heck, kid, why do they always fall asleep when you're driving an errand? But whatever, we're going to sit in the car with the air conditioner on and I'm going to get my work done in the front seat of my car. I couldn't do that when I was a transcriptionist with my guaranteed income and no salespeople talk to me. I legit was that girl in that mom group doing that post. And so I talked about that. I talked about how I was that girl who was so skeptical, but like, look at the freedom that I have to be able to do this wherever. And I talked about how I worked. I did not like make it sound like this is fun and frilly and we braid each other's hair and people show up in my inbox and I get paychecks. Like, no, I work and I'm consistent, and look at all these different places I can work. Look what I'm getting as a result of my work, but I made it abundantly clear I work.
Oh my gosh, freaking love that. So I hope you guys are seeing this pattern. To find business builders, you're talking about coaching consistently, and you're sharing consistently what it's doing for you consistently. And as a new coach, you're sharing where you're going, even if you haven't achieved that yet. I remember sharing my coach's success when I didn't have it yet, because she didn't intimidate me. She showed me what was possible and paved the way, right? And that's exactly what your upline successful coaches are doing for you. I absolutely love that. Okay, so Ashley, that was a perfect segue into my next question. Who do you guys, and this might be a little bit different for the three of you, who do you invite to coaching? Who do you invite to be a coach on your team? And what's a sample of what that invite conversation looks like?
I can go. So I invite from my social media and from my challenge groups. So I do from both. And something that I think is really important is like, you don't get to play God. You don't get to decide who this opportunity is for, who needs this, who doesn't. So honestly, like, I invite everybody. I don't mean that I invite everybody as in, if there's somebody that's clearly not my tribe, somebody that I would not want to spend the weekend with at Summit in a hotel room, then I'm not going to invite them to join my team. But if there are people that I'm like, I want to sleep over with you, then I'm going to invite them, whether or not they look like a dream coach or not. That's the thing of, you don't get to decide who needs this, because I might not have looked like somebody that needed coaching, but I did, and you never know why they might need it. So that's why it's so important that you're consistently sharing those pieces of your story, why you started. So I invite from the people that are liking my posts and watching my stories. And that's why it's so important to be talking about coaching, because then I can easily start that conversation with them. If they're liking or commenting on my post that I made about coaching, it's really easy to thank them for that support and then ask them if they've ever considered doing this, or have you ever thought about doing what I do? And that's such an easy way to start the conversation with them. So that's why it's important to be talking about it daily in your stories and then also on your feed. And then for inviting to coaching from my boot camps, I invite everybody from my boot camps. I invite the people that are crushing it, and I tell them, oh my gosh, you're absolutely rocking it. Like, you are basically doing what I do. You're inspiring me every day. So I know you would be inspiring other people, and you could be getting your products paid for and helping other people get started on this journey. Like, look how amazing you feel. It's selfish not to pay this forward. Have you ever thought about doing what I do as a coach? And so I invite those people, but then I also invite the people that are maybe not rocking it in the challenge group. And this is where I find a lot of people don't invite these people, because you're like, well, they're not showing up and they're falling off, so why would I invite them to coaching? Because coaching is going to be the answer that keeps them on track. Like, this is 100% why I've been on track for 3.5 years and been held accountable, because I know I'm the kind of person that I'm going to show up for other people more than I'm going to show up for myself. And so I reach out to them and I tell them that, like, you're struggling. I totally get it. Have you ever thought about adding this added layer of accountability and support for yourself, where it's literally your freaking job to show up so you don't have a choice? And so I think it's important to invite from both sides, and don't forget about the people that could really use this for the accountability and support that coaching brings by sharing their journey and bringing other people along with them.
I feel like I have nothing to add to that. I will say that I feel like, and this is something that I've become more aware of in the last year in my business, is I feel like I tend to attract, whether this is good or bad, I don't know. I've just noticed this in myself. I tend to attract different types of people to my challenge groups that I do to coaching. So I actually don't have a crazy high turnover rate out of my challenge groups, which is something I'm really working on. I know my challengers get awesome results, but for whatever reason, I tend to attract two different types of people. So I think just being aware of like the avatars that you're putting out there, like, who do you want to help? And so that's one of those things too. Like, I'm constantly saying, I am looking for women who are driven, who like these X, Y, and Z things. And then I will reach out to them directly. Like, this is an example invite that I sent yesterday. Hey lady, love following along with you, your feed and your stories, how you're spreading positivity. Maybe totally off here, but have you thought about joining an accountability group or even coaching on my team? We're focused on helping other women reclaim their confidence and health. We focus on God and let him fuel our hustle. My team is very faith-based, so that's why I say that. Anyway, I'm sure you're busy because, well, mom life, but I think you'd be great at it. Zero pressure, but I'm doing a little sneak peek tonight and would love to have you. And I don't send that out to everybody. I am very, like, I don't send it out to people who just look like creepers. Like, I want a very specific type of person. So I won't turn anyone down if they come to me for coaching, but I kind of am very picky with who I'm reaching out with publicly. And then in my challenge group, like Cassidy said, I just invite them all the time. So.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys, these are like the best nuggets in the whole world. So 1,000% everything they said. So I invite exactly the way Cassidy said. I am the opposite of Abby. I am like 99% of my coaches came from my challenge groups. So my turnover rate, I'm like, Abby, you and I need to chat, because I need to figure out what I'm doing to get some outside people in, because it's like my challengers become my coaches. But that being said, I know when I post in my stories, and I know when I'm posting about coaching, and maybe this is part of the issue, but I'm posting with the mindset of like, yes, I want someone who's struggling to relate to my story and see this as an outlet. I want someone out there to see what's possible. I would love for some random like dream coach to find me and find me from a hashtag and comment and sign up and turn into the next Jaylyn who went elite her first year. Hashtag that's a true story about Jaylyn stalking Micah. But that's just not what happens for me. When I post and I talk in my stories and I'm talking about the business, I'm talking about it so my coaches see it and they are reminded what is possible for them. And so that my challengers see it, so that when I invite them 2 to 3 weeks after they've started, they are not like, coaching, what's coaching? Because they know what coaching is. They've seen me posting about it. They've seen me, obviously they know what I do. They're in my challenge group. So then when I invite them, my invite says, girl, you're either, like Cassidy said, you're either crushing the group. I'm so freaking proud of you. You're basically doing what we do as a coach. You seriously should come do this with me. Have you thought about it? Or I say, girl, you really should come do coaching with me. It's like the main reason I'm so freaking consistent, and I really think this would be solid for you. have you thought about doing it? Like it, and I really emphasize my challenge groups do personal development. I encourage them to post things on social media and tag me. So I'm grooming my challengers to do coach activities so that they're a lot more the transition. That being said, I'm a 7-star, not a 27,000 star. That doesn't mean that every challenger turns into like, no, but it's worked. I went from barely ever hitting Success Club 6. Now that being said, that means the majority of my one-on-one invites, when I'm not inviting to a challenge group or a coaching sneak peek, I am a heavy hitter on Success Club. I recruit large quantities of challengers, large for me. I used to be SC6 on the last day of the month. Now I'm like, oh my gosh, I hit SC 30, 40, 50. That's like insane to me. I know there's like Ashley Molsteds of the world that are like SC 500. That's not what I mean by heavy hitter. But I find my sweet spot is SC 30, because then that means I brought in 15 to 20 new challengers, assuming I got a couple who didn't buy challenge packs. So I have like 20 people I can invite that are like brand new, fresh, like getting their feet wet with the group. Those are usually my challengers that are a little more moldable and are a little more like, actually, I have kind of thought about it. I would like some more info, and then I put them into the sneak peek. So one of my big tips for like that conversion rating is more challengers.
That is so good. And I hope you guys picked up on the 3 of them. Part of their invite is breathing belief into people who don't yet believe in themselves. And it's saying, I see you, you would be amazing at this. Because most of us in the beginning, if we go back, I didn't think like, well, my story's different, but like I didn't want anything to do with this. I didn't know I had what it took to do this. I didn't know anything about the business. And so I think that's such a huge component. And I wanted to highlight something that Cassidy put in the chat because it's so important. Be your dream coach. You are not going to attract people that are functioning at a higher level than what you are. So if you find yourself complaining that you're not finding anyone who wants to take this business seriously, ask yourself, am I taking this business seriously? Am I time blocking? Am I actually showing up? Am I tracking my business activities? Can I look back and see this is how many invites I sent this last week or this last month, and this is what my conversion rate was? Are you treating it like a business? Because if not, start there and then share that, and you're gonna attract more people that are looking to start a business because you're putting that vibe out there that I am a legit business owner. Come to me if you want to start a business. But if you're not doing that, people aren't going to get that vibe from you. So I wanted to highlight that. I love that. Okay, last question I have, and then we'll open it up. And this might be, at this point in your guys' business, similar for all 3 of you. But what do you guys do about objections or misconceptions that we get to coaching? And what are your tips for some of our newer coaches who get them?
I would say sharing the objection, like fighting them publicly, is one of the biggest things. So anytime I get an objection in my inbox, I'm like, oh, thank you for a new post idea. Thank you. And then I can go share on that on my stories or on my feed about how, if it's like an objection about time, then I love sharing my personal story with how I didn't think I had the time either, because I was literally the busiest person on the planet, like had like 60 to 80 hour weeks, yet I found time to fit this business in. And if that's not you, then find another coach on your team or somebody else that did have that story and share their story. That can go with literally any objection that you have. If money was not an issue for you, there is somebody that it has been an issue for. So share their story. For me, like I didn't have the 160 either when I started, and I thought it was a lot up front. I was a broke college student. I had $20 in my bank account, but I sold clothes on a Facebook page to pay for my challenge pack because I wanted to do this. So if you want something bad enough, like you'll find a way. But I think the biggest piece that comes with objections is, if you're getting a lot of objections, it's A, because you're not sharing the value enough, or B, because you don't believe in yourself and have enough confidence yet. So those are the 2 areas that you need to work on if you're getting a lot of objections, because the times when I am at a high with my own personal belief and confidence, I don't even get objections. And if I do, it's literally just like I'm just like a ninja. I'm like, woo, 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 because I have so much belief and confidence that people are going to believe exactly what I'm saying, and I could literally sell like pineapples on the street corner when I'm at that level, and people wouldn't have an objection. So I think it's so important to build that belief and confidence in yourself by fully committing to your program, by really like being 110% in, so that you don't allow yourself to have any doubts, because when you're doing it 110%, you're going to feel amazing. And you're going to have so much belief and confidence behind what you're sharing that anytime somebody has an objection, you're going to know how to combat it with your own personal belief and confidence. And then on the other side, just sharing that value over and over and over, because people buy things that they think they need. So if they don't think they need it because you're not sharing the value of it, then they're not going to purchase it. But if you're consistently talking about like what an amazing value this is and breaking that deal down for people, then they're going to see why they should do this too.
And mic drop. Cassidy just, I go 200% everything she said. I recruit best when I'm committed to my nutrition, when I'm dialed into my workouts, when I'm not half-assing stuff, like when I feel good in my own skin. And that's to both challenge groups and the business. Like it all is connected. And if I'm not posting about it regularly, if I'm not consistent with the vitals, it's so easy, guys, to drop your own bar. So stop lowering your own freaking bars, first of all, and stop looking around at other coaches and being like, well, I'm not where she, like, I don't hit SC34. I'm sitting here at SC6 right now. I'd love to be Ashley, but I'm not, and I need to lean into my lane. And so when you can just lean into your story, that is the biggest tool that you have to combat anything. And here's what I've learned in, 4 years of 5 years of coaching now, is that I don't want people I have to drag. There are totally objections, and I had all the fears when I started, all of them. But my coach was really good about sharing consistently. And I came to the conclusion that my fears were honestly BS excuses because I was scared. If it's someone who legit thinks it's a pyramid scheme and has all the reasons not to commit, I've had enough coaches that I've had to drag that end up quitting and sucking all my time, and it's not worth it. Like, you want people who are excited to do this with you. So be excited about it. And I'm not saying turn people down who want to work the business, but like also know your people, because sometimes all those objections, you have to kind of weed the weeds between what's like the ones that I had where they were like fears holding them back versus like just scammy people who are obnoxious, if that makes sense. So I don't know if that helps.
1,000% to every, like, all the things. And I think the national wake up call this past week, I'm just gonna amen what they said because I don't have anything new to add. So the national wake up call this week totally nailed what Cassidy said, that if you're getting an objection about something, that needs to become something you're talking about daily in your stories. For me, I never ever get objections about Energize. I could sell Energize to a homeless person. Like, the world needs Energize. So, but I talk about it every day in my stories. So it hadn't occurred to me that when I'm selling challenge packs, I hear probably 50% of the time, but I want to do the Energize BCAA one. I don't want the Shakeology one. And then I'm like, how come I have so many people that don't want Shakeology? Until the national wake up call this week, that I was like, oh shiz. Because I talk about Energize every day. And I mention in some way, like, I have got to figure out how to crawl up my stairs right now because I need my BCAAs so bad, but I'm so tired. I don't think I can climb my stairs because Joel just kicked my butt or Megan just kicked my butt because I'm in the #MBF group. And like that I like will mention my BCAAs, but I don't talk about Shakeology anywhere near as much as I should. And so that was really eye-opening to me this week in the national wake up call, that if I'm getting an objection about something, I need to talk about it. And to mention what Abby said, there's a freaking good national wake up call from Natasha Pearson that was in December, that she was talking about how when she went all in on MM100, her business exploded. And it's because she was all in on her journey. And that's why it's the #1 vital behavior. And it's not, the vital behavior is be proof the products work. It is not have a 6-pack, have 2% body fat. That's not even a real thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the vital. The vital is be proof of the product. Follow the nutrition plan. Your serotonin, I'm going to get all sciencey. I'm going to sound like Jessica for a second. Your serotonin levels are like in your gut, and it is what you are eating and how your gut feels affects your energy. If you go eat a box of donuts and then try to go send invites, you let me know if you sell a challenge pack as a result of that effort, girlfriend. That is not going to do squat. But if you are like crushing it and it was a weight loss day and your energy is amazing, you know, my gosh, I like got into new smaller pants, and then you go send invites, yeah, I bet you're going to sell a challenge pack after you do those invites. And that's because you're dialed in on your journey. Like, being dialed in on your journey is a massive momentum shift, and momentum solves problems. Like, getting that momentum, and you can generate that momentum because you are in control of crushing your journey. That is not on anyone else. You can control that, and then you can go out and slay the day.
Can I get an amen on a Wednesday? Oh my gosh, you guys, this was so powerful. This was so powerful. We have a few minutes left. I have pages of notes, but I want to open it up. Does anyone have any questions on this topic that you want to ask these coaches? If so, unmute yourself. Or if you can't, type it in the chat box.
So I have a question for you guys. When you're talking about, well, first of all, one of the things that's been resonating is telling your story, because every one of our stories is going to be a little different no matter what. And, you know, attracting, I think it was Cassidy that said, attracting the coaches that you want to hang out with. And that's super important to me because I want to have this like group of bad ASS girls who just really want to go after things for themselves. But I also know where I come from in my journey is not confidence. That's what I have now. That's not what I had. And so do you recommend talking about that? Bringing in people who, I think it was Ashley who said that, like bringing in people who aren't at their like highest confidence level and saying, hey, you know, you guys can do this too. I'm where you're at. I was where you're at right now. Come join me. Is that like something you guys are recommending? I'm kind of clarifying if that's what I'm getting.
So I'll start. So yes. And again, we don't get to play God. We do not get to decide who this is right for. And if Jaylyn, thank heavens above, that Jaylyn did not say, this girl is 100 pounds overweight. She should probably be on antidepressants because she has really bad postpartum anxiety and she's just being stubborn and won't go to her doctor. She hasn't left her house in 3 months because her anxiety is that bad that she can't go places. And she's broke. Like, they have no money. She can't afford a challenge pack, let alone a challenge pack under her husband. How is she going to keep 2 people? Like, I shouldn't invite her. Thank God Jaylyn did not judge that. And Jaylyn did not play God. She shared her story. I asked for info. She followed up with me. Like, and that's, so I lead. I don't talk about my depression very much. I do talk about anxiety a little bit. Like, I mentioned it yesterday in my stories because I was having some pretty bad anxiety in the morning. But then right after, I talk about how I fight it. So when I talk about it, I don't talk about it in a like, if you've been here in this like big old Suckville, and then like a little spot at the bottom about, come coach, it changed my life. It's the other way around. I was in Suckville and life sucked, modified suicide watch, all the terrible things. And then I decided that I was going to work out. I was going to change what I was eating. I was going to do free podcasts because I didn't have money for Audible. I was going to go to DI and I was going to buy used books or borrow books from my mom. And I was going to learn from people who had a better mindset than me because I was done being depressed. And holy crap, I'm walking outside and I'm losing weight. And this is free. This is kind of cool. What would happen if I paid a little bit of money for the DVDs? And my whole life transformed. And then I got into coaching. So I had a group of people who were doing things and trying to be positive. And oh my gosh, look what happened. And now here I am. Like, I do not make it a coaching changed me. You should do it too. I like very much weave in. I do the vitals. These are things that are required. And I talk a lot about connections, that when I get introverted and I decide not to talk to other people and to be stuck in my own suckville, try to say that 10 times fast, that it gets worse. But when I do connections and I go love on people, happy birthday, and tell them happy birthday to their kid, I'm very into birthdays, or happy anniversary, or oh my gosh, where did you get your leopard shoes? Or dude, why is Disneyland not open? Like going and loving on those people, because those are my people, I feel a million times better. And hashtag guess what? That's one of the vital behaviors, to go do that. Like, and the business has made me a better person because the vitals make me a better person, let alone the fact that they lead to a better life, so and a better business. So I talk about it that way. I feel like I just went in all the circles. Did that make sense?
Yeah, no, cool. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, my business has grown the most in terms of recruiting and income and volume in my hardest seasons, when I went through a very public second trimester miscarriage, when I was this was like a happy thing, but when I was pregnant with my daughter and working full time, and like, because when you're in the seasons that are hard, or if you are personally in like your personality, you know, like I didn't have confidence, and you can show up through it, that's what gives you the trust and the vulnerability, where people are like, okay, she's not just like everything's happy and rainbows. Of course she can coach. Of course she can be your boot camp, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, you're going through real life stuff, because life happens to everybody, but you're going to keep going. And like I wrote a whole post, my post last night was all about this. Like, coaching has showed me the power of my mindset and the power of my daily choices in every little thing. Those little tiny decisions add up in everything. And so if you can share that publicly, that's the most powerful thing you have for both recruiting and your challenge groups.
OMG. So good. So good. Your hardships, your struggles, your valleys, your stories, your transformations, all of that is your biggest asset in this business. That, like, if I would have started with no kids and no job and only had coaching, I don't think I would have succeeded, and I would not be relatable. But I started working in a prison with a newborn for 2 years, and that's become one of my biggest assets as a coach, because I can tell people I figured out how to do it, so if I could do it, you could for sure do it. And that's what these coaches are saying. That is a great question, Felisa. Really great question. Okay, you guys, we have 1 more minute. Any burning questions that you want to ask? If not, we are gonna shut it down. This call was epic. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I'm having a hard time balancing, like, I have my vision, I want to do coaching full time, but since I have a full-time job, I struggle with posting on social media, finding a balance, because like I get my power hours in, and so I'm talking about coaching, but I have a hard time posting about everything else during the day because I'm just at work. And I try to do stuff on my lunch break, but it's like, I'm just at work, so what do I post about the daily life? So I have that balance, and I'm not just posting about Beachbody all day.
I would share, like, when I was working full time, I would talk about what I was bringing to lunch. I would talk about my water challenge at my desk, and how, like, at 3 p.m. I used to go and raid my, like, coworkers' like chocolate bowl, and I was having my shake instead. Like, I'd try to give like practical tips and know that like people knew I was at work, so no one is expecting me to be posting that I shouldn't be. Like, so I was consistent. And then on the weekends, when I had extra time, I would write my posts in advance. I would like put them in my notes on my phone. I'd maybe stock up on some pictures that I could use, so that if I had a lunch break, I could put up a post really quickly. But I wasn't concerned about being on my stories from 8 to 5 because no one expected that. But then I was very consistent in the morning and in the evening and on the weekends. And then in the little pockets of time, if I had them at work, like I traveled a lot. So I'd oftentimes talk about like what I was eating instead of going through the fast food lines, or what I was bringing to my meeting, or things like that that would resonate with other working women. So you have things to share, but don't feel like you have to be sharing them every hour on your stories. Mm-hmm. Helps.
I love it. I think that that's so powerful. I just posted in the chat too. That's what I did too. So working in a prison, you don't have access to your phone or social media or anything. And I used to have to wake up at 4 a.m. to get a 20-minute workout in with my 3-month-old. And so I feel like this comes down to how bad, and I'm not just talking to you, Kristen, I'm talking to everyone. How bad do you want it? And if you, like with anything, and I've told my coaches this before about like Success Club, this is extremely dramatic, but if your kid's life depended on you hitting Success Club this month, you would move heaven and earth to make sure that it happens. So it's not a problem with you or anyone being incapable. It's that a lot of times we haven't figured out a reason to need it yet. We want to be successful, but maybe we haven't figured out how to need to be successful yet, because when you need something for your family or for your own well-being, you make it happen. And so for me, that looked like a 4 a.m. wake up to do 22-minute hardcore, doing burpees over my 3-month-old, and then making a shake and doing an Instagram post and taking a shower and running out the door, listening to personal development on my way to my nursing job in prison. And then on my 20-minute lunch breaks, going out to my vehicle, doing a quick Instagram post just about life. And then when I got off work, doing a quick response to questions that I was getting. And it's just like glimpses of who you are, because we are not Beachbody. We partner with Beachbody, right? It's our platform. So maybe there's so many Instagram trainings and social media trainings on YouTube of finding your 5 brands. What are the 5 things that you're passionate about? Beachbody maybe is one of them, but what are the other things? Are you a mom? Would you like gardening? And post about those things so that people build trust with who you are, and then you attract your people into what you're doing. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go. We're a little bit over an hour. Thank you so much for being here. This was incredible. I will forever use this training and go back to it. Thank you to our 3 Rockstar coaches. You guys absolutely nailed it. You guys, we have a responsibility at our fingertips. Let's go change the world. Together, we can do it. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.